The news has broken, and it is official. President Donald Trump has signed into law a brand new stimulus package that includes direct payments of $2,400 to qualifying Americans. After months of uncertainty, negotiations, and heated debates in Washington, this bill has finally cleared every hurdle, and the checks are on their way. For millions of individuals and families across the country, this represents a long-awaited lifeline at a moment when rising costs and financial strain have become part of daily life. The signing of this legislation has not only made headlines nationwide, but has sparked countless questions about eligibility, timelines, and the broader impact on the U.S. economy. This development comes after weeks of speculation, with both supporters and critics weighing in on the size, structure, and timing of the stimulus. While previous relief packages provided smaller amounts, this bill is designed to deliver a more substantial boost directly into the hands of ordinary citizens. The administration has emphasized that this is about providing immediate relief and giving families the breathing room they need to catch up on bills, manage household expenses, and keep local economies afloat. Already, financial experts are analyzing what this could mean for spending patterns, consumer confidence, and even the stock market. At the core of this package is the promise of speed. Officials have confirmed that once the president's signature was placed on the document, government agencies were immediately authorized to begin the process of distributing funds. Treasury Department representatives have stated that the first wave of direct deposits could hit bank accounts within just a few days, with physical checks following shortly afterward. For millions of households waiting for assistance, this rapid timeline is one of the most significant aspects of the entire plan. The goal is clear: to deliver relief not months from now, but right when people need it most. Now, let's break down exactly what this means for you. The bill stipulates that qualifying individuals will receive $2,400, while married couples filing jointly could be eligible for even more. Income thresholds are in place to ensure that those who need the funds most are prioritized, but the structure also allows a broad portion of the middle class to benefit. For families with dependents, there are additional provisions that could further increase the total payout, making this not just a short-term boost, but a meaningful cushion during an ongoing period of economic uncertainty. Lawmakers have described this as both a relief measure and an investment in the stability of American households. The passage of this bill did not come easily. Negotiations dragged on for weeks, with different factions within Congress pushing for different priorities. Some argued for more targeted aid, while others called for sweeping, universal payments. Ultimately, the compromise that emerged reflects both the urgency of the current moment and the political reality of balancing competing interests. President Trump, in his remarks following the signing, highlighted the importance of swift action and the responsibility of government to step up when citizens are struggling. He described the package as a historic step forward, framing it as both an economic measure and a moral obligation. Public reaction has been swift and intense. Across social media platforms, hashtags related to the stimulus have been trending, with users sharing their relief, skepticism, and questions in equal measure. For some, this represents long overdue help that will allow them to pay rent, keep the lights on, or put food on the table. For others, it raises concerns about long-term debt, inflation, and the sustainability of repeated government spending. Economists, meanwhile, are divided, with some predicting a much-needed boost in consumer activity and others warning of possible unintended consequences down the road. What is clear is that this bill has captured the attention of the entire nation. Financial institutions are already bracing for the impact of this wave of payments. Banks and credit unions have been coordinating with federal agencies to ensure that deposits are processed without delays. There is widespread acknowledgement that the speed and efficiency of distribution will be critical in shaping public perception of the program's success. In previous rounds of stimulus, there were complaints of delays, confusion, and errors. This time, Officials are under pressure to avoid repeating those mistakes and to demonstrate that the government can deliver effectively. The technology has improved, systems have been streamlined, and there is optimism that this rollout will be smoother than before. While the checks themselves are the centerpiece of this legislation, the bill also contains several other provisions designed to stabilize the broader economy. There are measures aimed at supporting small businesses, expanding unemployment benefits, and ensuring that essential public services remain funded during this challenging time. For many employers, the package includes incentives to keep workers on payroll, which lawmakers hope will slow down the rise in unemployment and preserve jobs that might otherwise be at risk. This multifaceted approach reflects an understanding that while direct payments help individuals, broader interventions are necessary to protect the overall economic framework. One key question that arises is how this infusion of cash will ripple through local communities. Economists often note that when households receive direct financial assistance, much of that money is quickly spent on essentials, groceries, rent, utilities, and transportation. This creates a domino effect, supporting local businesses and, in turn, sustaining jobs. For communities still recovering from the turbulence of the past few years, the stimulus could serve as a catalyst for renewed confidence and momentum. However, some analysts caution that the long-term benefits will depend on whether households use the funds primarily for immediate expenses or are able to save and invest for greater financial security. Another area of interest is the political dimension of this development. With the next election cycle always looming on the horizon, the signing of this stimulus package is not just an economic maneuver, but also a political statement. Supporters of the bill are already framing it as evidence of strong leadership and responsiveness to the needs of the people. Critics, however, argue that it is a short-term fix that does not address deeper structural challenges in the economy, such as wage stagnation, healthcare costs, and the growing national debt. This debate is likely to continue in the months ahead, but for now, the immediate focus remains on the arrival of those checks and the relief they promise to bring. Public sentiment is also being shaped by the stories of individuals whose lives will be directly affected by the payments. Families struggling to cover rent, seniors on fixed incomes, and young workers facing job insecurity are all sharing what this financial boost will mean for them personally. These narratives humanize the numbers and remind us that behind every statistic are real people facing real challenges. In many ways, the success of this stimulus will not only be measured in economic charts and graphs, but also in the ability of ordinary Americans to breathe a little easier, if only for a while. Of course, with such a large-scale program, there are inevitable concerns about fraud, misuse, and administrative hurdles. Government agencies have announced that safeguards will be in place to prevent duplicate payments, verify eligibility, and minimize errors. They are also encouraging individuals to ensure that their banking information is up to date in order to avoid delays. Lessons from previous relief efforts have underscored the importance of transparency and accountability, and officials have pledged to provide regular updates on the distribution process. This emphasis on oversight is intended to build trust and reassure the public that the funds are reaching the right people. Looking beyond the immediate impact, this legislation also raises broader questions about the future of economic policy in the United States. Will direct cash payments become a more regular tool in times of crisis? Could this set a precedent for how the government responds to downturns or emergencies in the future? Some policymakers are already discussing the possibility that this marks a shift in how economic relief is conceptualized, not just as temporary aid, but as a more integral part of a resilient social safety net. Whether or not that vision comes to fruition, this moment represents a significant turning point in the ongoing conversation about the role of government in supporting its citizens. As the days ahead unfold, all eyes will be on the timeline of distribution. For millions of Americans, the arrival of a $2,400 deposit could be the difference between falling behind and catching up, between stress and stability. The sense of anticipation is palpable, with families refreshing their bank accounts and eagerly awaiting official announcements. This collective focus underscores the extraordinary significance of the bill, not just as a policy achievement, but as a shared national experience. In living rooms across the country, conversations about this stimulus are happening daily, cutting across political divides and uniting people in a common moment of financial relief. In summary, the signing of this $2,400 stimulus bill is more than just a headline. It is a milestone in the nation's ongoing journey through economic turbulence and recovery. It brings with it hope, controversy, logistical challenges, and profound personal impact. It reminds us of the power of government action in times of need and the complexity of balancing immediate relief with long-term responsibility. For now, though, what matters most to millions of Americans is that help is finally on the way. The checks are real, the timeline is short, and the promise of relief is about to move from paper to reality. Whether you are a parent trying to feed your kids, a worker catching up on bills, or a retiree stretching a fixed income, this moment is one that carries weight, meaning, and the possibility of a brighter tomorrow.